I've seen my role often as an organizer. What that means is I have to first be a disorganizer. I have to disorganize people from what they normally do. So normally on Friday they'll go and have a drink and then they'll kind of chill out. Well, no, I'll ask them, why don't you come over and we'll talk about a house theater? I'll have dinner. I try to lure people, always food or some drinks, you know, we just chill out. And so they'll go, well, I normally don't do that on Friday. Well, yeah, I know, just once. Come on. That woman's there or the guy that you like so much. That's my style is invite, and maybe half of the people go, nah, but the other half go, okay, I'll come over, just for an hour, right? Yeah, just for an hour, that's it, no. And then you get people, and then you notice, you know, they'll go, well, you know, there was something I used to do. I used to be a stand-up comic. Oh, we want you to do that, man. Go ahead. Really? Do something now. No, I want, okay. And then how to get people feeling like it's better to be involved in that than not to be involved. And always making, if they miss a meeting, say, oh man, we had the best meeting, but we missed you. You were so good. Oh, well, it was a good meeting. A lot of people show up. Yeah, only 2 people showed up. You never say that. You always say, yeah, it was the whole crowd. People want to be in the part of something that's successful. And that, you know, and then you sort of, you have a few people that you know do really good stuff, and you know that's going to be good. And then there's going to be new people doing stuff with it. Okay, what's wrong with that? And then I write everybody I know. There's Susan terrorizing people to come to these events. Please come. Blah, blah, blah. You know, 5 or 6 emails, Facebook. I phone people when I'm desperate. Could you please come? We need. And there you are, 35 people sitting there. And you're able to do something in front of them, and people applaud, or you make audience participation. And you belong to something, and you did it with people. My name is Susan Parenti, and I think of myself as an activist and as an experimental music and theater composer. I remember being in 2nd grade and sitting in the auditorium of a public school and seeing a bunch of adults pretend they were trees. And I tittered and giggled and looked at the other kids like, well, these big people are pretending they're wind. And it was so outrageous to see adults doing play that I thought, okay, I want to do that. I want to make things. And then a recurring image, probably when I was in high school, was a group of people who kind of take over a large building. And they all live together in the building, and it has a moat. And the moat, I think I'm using the word right, the drawbridge is closed for like 3 weeks every month. Nobody can get in and nobody can get out. And inside the building, all these people are making something that they're going to show to the neighbors that they think is just what their neighbors would love, okay? And then they'd be, are we ready? We're ready? Make the drawbridge go down. And boom. Come on, everybody, we're ready. We got food and everything. We think it's going to be really fun. And then I imagine all these people from the neighborhood would just be waiting. Little did I know this, they weren't waiting. But anyway, they would be going inside, and we would eat, and we'd show them things we made up. And we'd act like adults pretending they're trees. It took a long time to get through graduate school. Well, mostly because there's really no jobs for composers. You kind of just know that in advance, unless you're going to become commercial, and then I would wonder if what you're doing is composition or teach. And I wasn't particularly interested in becoming a professor of composition. So I went through a long time of hanging out with a lot of people in the music department. And yes, I would do individual piano recitals and things like that, but what became thrilling was to form this ensemble. And we performed an ensemble, we made it was a really catchy name, Performers Workshop Ensemble. It's got a long history, I won't get into it. But there, in the company of other misfits who wrote music that people would go, ugh, is that music? Ugh. I mean, it was hard to even get my family to come to our recitals. It's like, are you going to have that kind of music again? I'm not going, honey, I'm not. And certainly, I mean, really being in music composition, experimental music composition, you get used to looking out from the curtain to see how many people are in the audience and then going, 1. Oh, there's my mom. is my boyfriend. There's 4 people out there. So when I've done experimental activism and there's 4 people, I think that's the history of my life. 4, they're different. After being this ensemble from 1980, around 1991, we started noticing that when we would write to schools, universities, and say, we would like to come through and we'd like to do this performance and stuff. And then they say, why don't you give us a call? Somewhere around 91, 92, I was hearing cries of distress from people that were, like, in a music department, professor and stuff. They'd say stuff like, you know, they're cutting our health insurance. I'd be like, huh, what? I thought those were cushy places. What's going on? Is there a place in your ensemble for me? Do you guys pay? I was like, no, we don't. So I was beginning to hear, like, help! And then when we went to places, and we went to, you know, Oberlin, New College, Evergreen, we were seeing that what I thought was a dedication to thinking so that you change the world was now learning and thinking so that you do well in the world. And these were not even at regular colleges. These were alternative colleges. And we know a lot of people around the world and stuff, and we would come together for cybernetics conferences or performances, and we were trying to figure out something we could all do together. And so we thought of a school. And just do it in the summer when people were free. And we didn't know what to do exactly. So we ended up making this education experiment called School for Designing a Society, which you know about. And as we put it, it's creating temporary living environments where the question, what would I want the world to be, is taken seriously and playfully and is input into artistic projects. And one of the nice things about the school is people generally are only there because they want to be. And I didn't realize how important that was until we went to Evergreen a couple of years ago and taught for a couple of months in that school. And that's a way experimental school. But I'd say half the people didn't want to be in the class. And I wasn't used to seeing, like, it's like, why am I exposing myself to these disgruntled, I don't want what you're offering people? So generally people will come from out of town, out of state, out of the country. Though this year we're changing that. We're trying to figure out how to make the neighborhood be the people that we address. And so a successful, we don't even use semesters, but a session can be 3 months long. Sometimes people stay for a couple of years. Sometimes people are there for a week and go, forget it. We mix it with clown trips, so people learn clowning, which is an interesting way to have an education. Clowning with people in prisons and asylums and stuff. And we always push towards the person stating the things they want the world to be. And that takes, when you're working with adults, they don't say those things easily because the question, well, what do you want? Don't be realistic. What would you want the world to be? We were trying to make a little risky, dangerous, playful attitude. And thus we came up with the idea of house theaters, which was simply take a house and consider it the performance space. And then drop all your expectations of it being like a Cranard. You don't have to have it be 2 hours long. You can invite people over for 10 minutes and then after 10 minutes say, bye! You can invite people and tell them to bring their pajamas and a sleeping bag. We did that. We had middle of the night concerts. And people would just come for the heck of it. And it was mostly to free us, the artists, from giving in to expectations of what is the proper performance thing. Because when someone invites you over to their house, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you assume nothing dangerous, but they'll take you down in the basement and show you their little project there, and then they'll make you drink some really strong coffee and you start talking really fast. Houses are much more chaotic than the concert hall. You have your expectations, you already know. You'll sit there, they'll do that, they'll come, you go, you'll get to talk at intermission, and then you go back. But with house theaters, we were just changing everything around. We've probably done, they started in 1991, we've probably done over 260 of them, I'd say. Not so many in the last few years. I think I kind of ran out of steam, but I think we're going to start them again. Hence, a room like this is perfect. It's small enough that if you get the requisite 20 people, it feels like it's crowded. And people get a chance to talk. We always serve a lot of really good food. I'm always big on free food. It's very cheap. It's like $5 if you have it, and if not, wine. I mean, again, people would come to house theaters to eat dinner. So, this is like a place. And it would enable us to kind of, and it went back to that old image I had of being inside that storefront with people. We'll cook up something over a period of 6 weeks. We wrote a play on immigration that is based on a book by Parenti called Global Heartlands, where she was asking herself the question, why do people come from these beautiful countries, Togo, Kenya, etc., to work in pork slaughtering plants in Illinois? Oh my God, okay. I think that made me decide, and Mark and a few of the other people, that maybe we should make the town be the people that we consider our playmates, our students, our participants, that we work with people instead of looking for people from outside who will come for 3 months and they have all the time in the world. Maybe work with people who aren't coming except across the street and who don't have all the time in the world. Find simple part-time work that isn't insulting, that you actually kind of enjoy. Try to figure it out in a time of the day when you normally are not particularly creative. Like me at 5 o'clock, I'm an idiot. So I used to work in coffee shops where I would just, I'd be standing around and I'd drink coffee, and then 6 o'clock I'm a little more awake, and then 7 o'clock I'm more awake, 8 o'clock, and then I'd get off at 10 and then I'd be ready to go. That was really good. I mean, I supported myself my whole college through working as waitresses, piano, walked at strawberry fields, and would always place, this was the bread and butter money, and I would do it at times when I could get off and go to a rehearsal. This mentality is not now. For some reason, people feel it's a shameful thing to be 40 and working at, a bistro or as a waiter. I think this advice won't go anywhere, because again, I just noticed people would rather go home and live with their parents, which is always a bad idea. When they're an artist, because they can't get, cool work. They're not the director of the blankety blank. I mean, people start working with us and they immediately want to call themselves a director. It's like, oh man, why do you want to be a director? You're just working. We're working. I don't know what we're doing. And arguments that unless you support yourself with your work, well, that's an indictment of society. It's not the indictment of yourself. If your parents give you that stuff, just say, well, look at the society. I'm doing really good work. They don't pay me. But it's so vital to be alert and listening and making, and to be looking for that in other people. That it's like a necessary calling. I wish everyone had an art room in their house, a public art room. When you go down the street, you go, oh, there are art rooms in the back, and there are art rooms. Because people say that cliche, everyone's an artist. I wish that was so. I wish people made stuff and saw their identity in what they make, and not what they're being paid for.
To get involved and support the Urbana Public Arts program, please contact the Public Arts Coordinator Rachel Storm at rlstorm@urbanaillinois.us or 217-328-8265.